Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Korok Seed Master Mode Challenge. We are well into our quest at this point to track down all 900 Korok seeds before completing any other main story quest objectives. And in today's video, we meet the 1/3 completion mark with the collection of the 300th seed, as well as 19 others in our quest as we continue. If you've enjoyed this series, please feel free to leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. The subscription is free and easy, and I bring videos to you on a daily basis from a couple of different game sources and titles, and I hope that you're having just as much fun with this as I am. So without further ado, let's jump into the seeds located within today's video. So we do need to take a moment and activate one of the new Sheikah towers in this area of the map, and this is primarily to aid us in our quest as we track down the seeds, as it reveals up the ins and outs of the landscape. Seed number 281 is in a little cavern here with some luminoid stones, and as soon as you bomb the wall, you'll be able to have access to a small rock that you can lift off the top of the Korok, collect the seed from him before, trying to give him some shelter. We're just trying to be kind and helpful here. Seed number 282 is probably one of the more tedious seeds to obtain when it comes to collecting fruit off of trees, and that's mainly due to the fact of how the apple tree is oriented, because the upper branches can be a little bit more difficult to get the fruits out of, and you have to be very particular because you have to exactly match the patterns of the other two trees in the area. But we did manage to grab that apple off of the highest branch there, and that is all we needed in order to collect the seed from this spot. Seed number 283 is a little bit more difficult to find where this rock is located because it's in an area of the map that is a lot darker or dimmer. It is during nighttime, so that didn't exactly help out a whole lot. But the rock is located down on a ledge away from this little pattern puzzle, and as soon as you are able to track that down, you'll be able to walk it over without any real obstructions, as opposed to some of the other seeds that we may see later on in today's video. Seed number 284 is another seed that follows the pattern of Hyrule curling, and this is one of my favorite structures of Korok seeds found within the game. Basically, we need to make sure that we line all three of our Cryonis blocks up here, making a nice path over to the ring of rock spires located out in the middle of the lake, ocean, what have you. And then there's a wide selection of rocks over here on the coast that you can grab and walk up to the top of this rock spire. But if you play your cards right, that should be the only one that you need. And in our case, this is exactly how that panned out. So that gives us the Korok seed from this spot, and I really hope to see more puzzles like this scattered throughout the land, as they are my favorite type thus far. Seed number 285 is a flower puzzle, and this one zigzags back and forth across a couple of boulders out in the ocean. It was made a little bit more difficult due to the weather being a little bit rainy, and that makes it hard for you to get a grip on things as you make your way across the terrain, but we were able to track down the seed without any hostile encounters from the Lizalfos in the nearby waters. Seed number 286, I believe, is the first time that we're seeing a palm fruit being required to be offered at these little altars. It does only require the one, and we had several in our inventory, so I'm not too concerned about that. Just make sure that you scoop them up before walking away. Seed number 287 is a little bit different because though it is a ring of lily pads that you need to jump into, none of the naturally occurring landscape really gives you a good opportunity to do that, but a Cryonis block will really make that a lot easier. Seed number 288 is atop the Guardian carcass that's strapped atop the Hitano Tech Lab, and you just need to interact with the fairy lights here. You don't need to go into the lab, and I'm not going to because that's not the main focus of this series. Maybe I'll double back at a later date and time to do so. But a short glide over from the top of the tech lab, you can find yourself on this tree in the center of the lake, and pick up the rock that's nestled in between the branch and the trunk of the tree to free your next Korok. And though I tried to give him some more shelter, it seems like I went more for a rock skipping approach with the way that that rock fell out of the tree. There is one other rock located within the branches of a tree here in Hitano, so make sure that you grab the seed out of this spot as well before continuing forward. And this one, though, I did exercise the same right to give the Korok a little more shelter. I nearly pushed myself out of the tree with it, so it's not always the easiest job trying to do something good for the Koroks. The last rock that we'll see in terms of lifting a rock off of a Korok's head is inside this little creek inlet. And this time we actually do kind of manage to complete our goal by balancing the rock on top of the Korok's head, of course with the help of the wall of the cliff right there. Seed number 292 is another flower trail puzzle, and this one sweeps out in an arc through the valley that you first find it in, and then it takes you up the side of the mountain. And that is a lot easier than some of the other flower puzzles that we've seen because it keeps the flowers in a nice visible path as you go about following them down to the final white flower and obtaining your prize. Seed number 293 is an archery puzzle, and this one was a little bit difficult for me to find the balloons at first, but once you do find them, it's really simple. They're decently close and they move very slow, and we were actually able to get all of those with a 100% accuracy shot take. We didn't have to waste a single arrow trying to get any of those targets. Seed number 294 is a ring of seaweed that you'll need to jump into from the adjoining cliffside. And you do need to be cautious in this particular area as this little cove or tide pool is home to a stone talus. And if you're not careful, either the previous seed or this one can cause you to activate him, and he'll really ruin your day if you're not careful. Especially with that last rock that we needed to collect for this one. Luckily though, we were able to do so without any incidents, so we will be able to move right along forward up and away on this cliff ridge by following another flower puzzle. And this one, similar to the last one that we saw, is very clear cut because the flowers don't really zig or zag back and forth, and you're able to follow them very directly to the end destination and collect the seed from here, which I always appreciate very much when it's done that way. Seed number 297 is another flower that you'll need to follow up the side of this snowy mountain. And this mountain area is very cold, so I would make a couple of recommendations. One, either make sure that you have 2 levels of cold-resistant clothing. 2, make sure that you have your parka from the Great Plateau applied and some cold resistance. Or 3, make sure that you have a flame weapon on hand. But from there, we can actually glide and drop down out of the sky, and that just always makes me feel really powerful when I can glide cancel my fall, especially the larger falls. It just is such an empowering feeling when you know that you've pulled that off perfectly. And with the use of some Octorok balloons, we've lifted the slab off the top of the rock that we need to use to liberate this guy. And since there are a couple of hostile creatures around, we do want to provide him all the cover we can before retreating and going off in search of our next seed. Seed number 299 is a time trial puzzle, and based off of the terrain, I'm guessing that you're more inclined to use a shield surfing technique to get down here to the bottom and collect the time trial, but it's just as direct to fly down, though probably a little bit more time consuming. But we did manage to get it while it was on the final beat of the timer, and at the end of the day, if I don't have to repeat the puzzle in attempts to collect the seed, I'm happy with it. Seed number 300 is another time trial, and this one is a little bit different than the previous one in a couple of different ways. One, the timer is quite a bit longer, and 2, we need to glide from the previous peak where we started the time trial to this adjoining peak and then climb up the tree in order to get to a high enough vantage point where we can then perform a back kick maneuver off of the tree and glide over to the end of the time trial. Now, if you don't have a lot of experience with that, you may want to practice the technique once or twice before actually obtaining the seed, but we were able to do so with little to no inconveniences. So that is it for the seeds located within today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to leave a like, as it's a very time-consuming series to put together, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I hope that you are too. If you're enjoying the content, please feel free to subscribe as I bring content to you on a daily basis. So thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.